Hello everyone, welcome to 4Pi Academy classes. This is Ankita Rajput. So in this video today we are going to discuss with you the very important thing. Okay, so as you all know, GATE 2021 examination is in February and it will be like most probably from 6 to 13 Feb. Okay, so it's only 1 month remaining. So generally what happens when we are preparing for NET, GATE, JEST or any other such kind of examination, okay, if we have prepared all the important concepts and all the theoretical part and everything we have covered, but what is the problem? At last time we forget so many important formulas, and due to this we can miss very easy problems in your examination. Okay, so keep this thing in mind. Today we are providing you the very important video, and in this video we are going to discuss with you the most important formulas of solid state physics, which will definitely help you to solve many problems in your examination. Okay, so this is basically for all the examination as we have discussed, like CSIR, NET, GATE, JEST, TIFR, and for set examination. Okay, but as you have examination in February, okay, so it will also be very good for you. Okay, so let's start this video. So if you are new to our channel, you can subscribe right now our channel, and if you like the video you can also hit the like button and the notification bell icon, and you can also visit us on our website, that is www.4piacademy.com, and we have also a Facebook page, so you can also follow us there. So let's start. So this is your syllabus of CSIR NET examination of solid state physics. Okay, and this is the syllabus of GATE examination, okay, in solid state physics. So as you know, the syllabus is not very much different. Okay, it's quite similar, but in GATE examination there are few topics which are, we can say, the additional topics. Okay, so yes, so this is your quick notes, you can say, the short notes or the very important formula of your solid state physics or condensed matter physics. So we will start from basic of solid state physics. Okay, so as you all know that basic of solid state physics means everything about the crystal. Okay, means the atomic radii, the number of atoms per unit cell. Okay, so these are the very important parameters in a crystal. Okay, so we will discuss these things. So as you know, in your crystal there are three kinds of crystal. Okay, main three categories of crystals are there: simple cubic, body centered cubic, and face centered cubics. So this slide is providing you the number of atoms per unit cell in these different kinds of crystal lattice. Okay, so in simple cubic you have only one atom per unit cell. In BCC, that is body centered cubic, you have two atoms per unit cell, and in face centered cubic you have four atoms per unit cell. Okay, so these are the number of atoms per unit cell, and it's very important. So these are the atomic radii in these three kinds of crystal lattice. So for simple cubic, the atomic radius means the radius between the adjacent atoms inside the simple cubic crystal is a by 2. What is A? A is the lattice constant. So R is A by 2 for your simple cubic lattice, and for BCC crystal R is A root 3 by 4. Okay, and for face center cubic crystal your radius is A under root 2 by 4. So these are the very important parameters in solid state physics. And packing fraction, we can also discuss about the packing fraction in these three types of crystal lattice. So for simple cubic your packing fraction is pi by 6, for BCC it's pi root 3 by 8, and for FCC crystal it's pi root by 6. Okay, so these are the short notes, and you can also find these notes on our website, okay, in the section quick notes. So okay, so this formula, the fourth one, is very important, especially for your GATE examination. So for a cubic lattice, it is a relation between the lattice constant, that is A, density rho of crystal. Okay, so if you know these things about your crystal, means if you know, we can say, the mass, okay, and this Na is Avogadro number and m is the atomic weight. Okay, so you can easily calculate the lattice constant A. So this is the relation between lattice constant A and atomic density of your crystal. Okay, so this is very important formula. So our next formula is for interplanar spacing. So if you know about the atomic planes inside the crystal lattice, we have so many different kinds of atomic planes having different HKL values. Okay, so for these planes, for a set of parallel planes, we can find out the spacing, that is interplanar spacing between the planes. Okay, and it will be 1 upon under root h square upon a square plus k square upon b square plus l square upon c square, where h, k, l are the Miller indices of these planes and ABC will be the lattice parameter of your unit cell. So if you are confused about the interplanar spacing or atomic planes, so we have a video on our YouTube channel, and this is basic of solid state physics, and there are 2 and 3 videos. Okay, and in this video you can get an idea about the types of atomic planes and the spacing between these planes. Okay, so we will provide you the link in the description box so you can also visit. So yes, so next formula is bonding force between the atoms. Okay, inside the crystal, the atoms are bonded due to different kinds of bonds. Okay, you know these things. So this is a general formula of this bonding force F, and it's A upon R to the power m minus B upon R to the power n. Okay, so R is the spacing between the atoms, and this m and n are constants, and generally n is greater than m. So this is very important formula, and this is bonding force. So if you have a ionic crystal, so you can calculate the lattice energy for your ionic crystal, and this is your formula. Okay, where this alpha is the Madelung constant and this Na is Avogadro number, you know, E pi epsilon r naught. Okay, so this is the formula of lattice energy for your ionic crystal. This formula is important, ninth one, that is Madelung constant. Okay, so Madelung constant alpha is summation plus minus Pij. Okay, so and Madelung energy, that is also known as electrostatic energy, is n alpha q square upon r, where r is the nearest neighbor distance. Okay, so yes, so now very important slide which will tell you about some important formulas based on the reciprocal lattice system. So as you know, inside the crystal structure we have two categories, two types of lattices, and one is direct lattice and second category is reciprocal lattice. Okay, so for reciprocal lattice system you can also visit uh, a very important video, that is the construction of reciprocal lattice and everything about the reciprocal lattice. Okay, so we will also provide the link for the same. So the reciprocal lattice vector, a vector which is representing your crystal inside the reciprocal space. And what is this vector G? This is H vector A star plus K vector B star and L vector C star. So these HKL are the integers, and what is this A star, B star, C star? These are the primary vectors which are representing the direction of your reciprocal lattice system. So this is the total reciprocal lattice vector, and G is inversely proportional to the spacing of the lattice plane. Okay, and that is normal to G. So we can represent G as 1 upon DHKL. And what is this DHKL? In the last to last slide we have discussed that this is the interplanar spacing between the atomic planes. So yes, this is also very important, very important actually. So you have to remember that this term, that is total scattering amplitude and also structure factor. So we can calculate this structure factor for these three kinds of crystal lattice: simple cubic, body centered and face centered. So for simple cubic crystal, your this structure factor F is small f. And what is this small f? This is a scattering factor of your unit cell, and it will be different for different crystal. So for simple cubic crystal, all reflections, that is all planes, are allowed. So what is the meaning of this line? If you know about the X-ray diffraction, Okay, so to know many important parameters about your crystal, we generally go for XRD, that is X-ray diffraction pattern. And if you're in your X-ray, you are getting all planes in your spectrum, you are getting all peaks corresponding to all possible planes. So that will be your simple cubic crystal, because there are all the planes are allowed here. Okay, so this will be your simple cubic crystal. For your body centered cubic crystal, your structure factor f dash is small f 1 plus e to the power pi I h dash plus k dash plus l dash. What is this h, k dash, l dash? These are the Miller indices of your plane. Okay, so this is the formula of structure factor for BCC crystal lattice. So if you will put the values of these h, k, l, you can find the value of structure factor only when this term h plus k plus l is even. Okay, we have written here h dash k dash l dash, but it's basically hkl. This is the only the notation system. So if this h plus k plus l term is even, only then the corresponding planes are allowed here. So which is the plane? That is 110. You can see h plus k plus l is even here, even here, even here. So these kinds of planes are allowed, or you are getting these planes inside the body centered cubic crystal. Okay, in face centered cubic, your structure factor f dash will be this: f 1 plus e to the power pi I h dash plus l dash plus e to the power I pi h dash plus k dash, and similarly the third term. Okay, so here the condition is that unmixed reflections are present, means all planes having h, k and l either even or odd, means either you will get the total odd value, means all HKL should be odd or even. So this is the condition here. So generally what happens in your gate and net examination, you will have suppose 4 options available, and okay, and you have to answer which plane will be present inside like BCC or FCC. So if you know these conditions, you can easily quickly mark your right option. So this is a very famous Bragg's law. In direct crystal lattice, this is the formula of Bragg law. This is 2d sine theta equals to n lambda. What is d? Interplanar spacing. Theta is the grazing angle, and lambda is the wavelength of source of light which you are using in X-ray diffraction. So based on these formula, alternate year, you will get definitely a question in your gate examination and in net also. And what is this? 2 vector k dot g plus g square equals to 0. This is also the Bragg's law, but in reciprocal space. Okay, so this is important. And one more important, that is point defect. There are so many different kinds of defects available inside your crystal. So if you have point defect in your crystal, you can find out the total number of vacancies present. Okay, so how you can calculate the number of vacancies? By using this formula, and this is nv equals to n e to the power minus ev upon 2 kt. So this ev is basically vacancy formation energy, and k is Boltzmann constant, and t will be your temperature in Kelvin. So if you know this ev value and t value, so for this particular temperature you can calculate the nv. And what is this n? This is a total number of particles inside your crystal. So yeah, so now this is the second, we can say, part. So this is about the one dimensional monoatomic lattice. Okay, so if you have a lattice which is monoatomic, okay, so in one dimensional monoatomic lattice, you can calculate the value of this omega. Okay, means this is the frequency. So this relation is known as dispersion relation. And what is this for 1D monoatomic lattice? Omega will be under root 4 beta upon m sine Ka by 2. So this beta is your force constant, okay, and k is a wave vector. So this term 4 beta upon m will be your cutoff frequency. So keep in mind that this formula is very, very important. Okay, but what happens in examination, like in net examination, in place of beta you can get some other constant like c will be here, but keep in mind that here beta is constant. So if c is present here, so it will be mentioned in your question that C will be the force constant there, and same case will be with K. Okay, so K is, what is K? K is wave vector. Okay, so remember this formula, and accordingly based on these constant you can relate the formula. So this is the one dimensional monoatomic lattice dispersion relation. Okay, and this is a dispersion relation for one dimensional diatomic lattice. In previous slide we have discussed about the monoatomic lattice, but this is the case of diatomic lattice, means you have two different kinds of atoms available inside your crystal. So in this diatomic lattice you have two branch, so the lower one is acoustical branch and the upper one is optical branch. Okay, so these are important things because this is the boundary of Brillouin-Jones. So this is pi by 2a and this will be minus pi by 2a. Okay, so what is the formula here? The formula is omega square equals to beta upon mu plus minus beta under root 1 upon mu square minus 4 sine square Ka upon m1 m2. So this is the dispersion relation between omega and K. So based on the values of this K, if K is 0 you can calculate the value of omega. If K is pi by 2a or minus pi by 2a, you can also calculate the omega value, and that will be this. Okay, so these two different values. So, and what is this mu? It's reduced mass because you have two atoms. So suppose the mass of these atoms are m1 and m2, so mu will be reduced mass, that is m1 m2 upon m1 plus m2. So this is very important relation. So in this case, in one dimensional diatomic crystal, there are two kinds of branch. Okay, like we have discussed in previous one, acoustic branch and optical branch. So and there is a reason, you can see here, there is a region between these two branches. So this region is known as forbidden frequency gap between them, and so it is also behave as a band pass filter, because what a band pass filter does, it generally passes few frequencies. Okay, but there are some frequencies which cannot pass through this particular filter, so it is also behaving as a band pass filter. So suppose if there are p atoms in your primitive cell, so the phonon dispersion relation will have 3 acoustical phonon branches and 3p minus 3 optical phonon branches. Okay, so this is very important. So this slide is very important because it's in this slide we will learn about the specific heat. Okay, so specific heat we can also calculate for our crystal. So first assumption, first of all, the classical theory is used to explain or derive the value of the specific heat for your crystal. Okay, so according to this theory, the specific heat, that is the average energy of one dimensional oscillator, is kT. The average energy of one dimensional oscillator is kT. So total thermal energy per molecule per mole will be 3 n kT. Okay, so if we have n particles, so according to this theory u will be 3 n kT. So this is the average energy, but the molar specific heat, that is the lattice specific heat, will be del u over del t. So Cv will be 3 n k. Okay, and nk is r is gas constant, so this Cv will be 3nk or 3r. So this is known as Dulong-Pettit law, where your according to classical theory your specific heat is 3r. And but this theory is failed because there are so many concepts which cannot be explained using this theory, so this is failed. So after this theory, Einstein theory came into picture, and they using some different kinds of assumptions. So what is the assumption they took into account? Then the atom is behaving as independent quantum oscillator. So based on these assumptions they derived the value of specific heat. Okay, and what is this? Cv is 3r theta e upon t whole square e to the power theta e upon t upon e to the power theta e upon t minus 1 whole square. Okay, so this is a formula of specific heat using Einstein theory. Okay, and it reaches to 3R at high temperature. So if we are taking that this T is very high, so at this point this V will be 3R, okay, and this term vanishes at T tends to 0 Kelvin. And what is this theta E? This is the Einstein temperature, okay. So for some extent this theory, Einstein theory, can explain very important assumptions or concepts of your crystal, but it is also failed, okay. So after this Einstein theory we will discuss about some important formulas which are based on this Debye theory. So this is the theory which explained very well your crystal. So and what they used that long wavelength approximation. They took into account that there are some frequencies, uh, only these frequencies are allowed, and beyond these frequencies your atom is not oscillating with these frequencies, okay. So the specific heat calculate by Debye was 9R T upon theta d whole square integration theta d upon t x cube e to the power x upon e to the power x minus 1 whole square dx, okay. So if you calculate this Cv when your temperature is very high, you will get Cv3R. So this is Dulong-Pettit law. So this is the correct one. And also at low temperature this Cv comes out to be T to the power 3, that is T divide T cube law. So this theory exactly explain the behavior of your crystal. At low temperature you are getting a constant value of Cv, that is 3R. At at high temperature you are getting Cv3R, and at low temperature your crystal is following the T cube law. So this is the theory which could clearly explain the so many important assumptions of your crystal, okay. So these are the important formula, and these are the formulas which are very commonly asked in your gate examination. So you have to remember the formula of Cv and the values of these Cv at high and low temperature. And this is very important, free electron theory, okay. Free electron theory, that is Fermi-Dirac statistics. So in this slide we are discussing about the Fermi energy of your crystal in 3 dimension, 2 dimension and 1 dimension. So what is the Fermi energy? The formula of Fermi energy is h cut square kf square upon 2m. This is a general formula. And what is this probability distribution function? This function is telling you the probability of an atom, okay, in different states. So this is Fe, which is basically the Fermi-Dirac statistic, okay. So based on this FD statistics, this is a probability density function. And what is this? 1 upon e to the power e minus ef upon kt minus 1. So ef is Fermi energy, this is this, and also EF equals to KTF. If you know the Fermi temperature, you can calculate the Fermi energy. And these three formulas are very important, because I will tell you that if you are going to search the formula of Fermi energy for these three categories, means in 3D, 2D, 1D, you cannot easily find this formula in a particular page or in a particular book very easily. So we are providing for your ease these formulas together. So Fermi energy in 3D is h cut square upon 2m 3 pi square n upon v to the power 2 by 3. So it is depending on 2 by 3 power of your n. What is this n? This is the number of atoms, and n upon v will be small n, that is the number density, okay. So you have to remember this formula. For 2D, your EF is n pi h cut square upon ma, okay. So n is also the atomic number and a is the area. So in some book you have you can easily find that n upon a is small n. So either you can write that n pi h cut square upon ma or small n pi h cut square upon m. In 1D, EF is n square pi square h cut square upon 2 ml square. So this is very important slide. You can also calculate the density of state, that is the number of states per unit energy range in these 3 dimensions. So in 1D, your density of state is proportional to e to the power minus half. So it is depending on the energy value. In 2D, your density of state is independent of E value, and in 3D, your density of state is depending on e to the power half. So these are few important formulas. You can calculate the current density. So this is the relation of current density and this electrical conductivity. So J is sigma E, okay, and drift velocity Vd is capital E tau upon m. Okay, so E is the electric field here and tau will be your mean free path, and current density I you can calculate if you know the value of this drift velocity. So I will be NEAVD. A is the area of cross section, E is the charge of your electron, and N is the density. And mobility mu is Vd upon E, and sigma will be N E mu. So these formulas you can easily see in your electronics, but this is a part of your solid state physics also, so we have to remember these formulas. Okay, and when we are talking about the specific heat using Einstein classical or Debye theory, that is the lattice specific heat. Okay, so now in this slide we are discussing about the electronic specific heat, because inside a crystal there are two types of specific heat. One is lattice specific heat and one is electronic. So we have discussed the lattice specific heat. So now this is the formula for electronic specific heat, that is 3 by 2 nkb. Okay, and the number of electrons, this number of electron L, which are basically contributing to this specific heat, will be capital N T upon Tf. Okay, so you can calculate this number of N if you know the value of Tf. So if you will put the value of N in this formula Cv, so your Cv will be 3 by 2 nkb T upon Tf. So this is the electronic specific heat formula. One more important formula, that is Weidmann-French law. What is this law? This law is telling you that the ratio of thermal conductivity to electrical conductivity is always proportional to temperature. So K upon sigma is proportional to your temperature. This Hall effect is also very important and sometimes confusing. Okay, so what is this Hall effect? It's basically telling you like if you have a conductor, okay, and if magnetic field is applied perpendicular to the direction of current flowing in a conductor. So in a conductor, in particular direction a current is flowing, and in perpendicular direction of this current you are applying some magnetic field. So this effect is telling you that an electric field will be present, or it will be produced in a direction which is perpendicular to both the direction of current and the direction of magnetic field. So this produced electric field is known as Hall field, and this is the formula of this Hall field, that is minus Jx Bz upon Ne. Jx is the current density, which is basically we can say in x direction. Bz is the applied magnetic field, which is in z direction. So your Hall field will be in y direction. Okay, and N is the concentration, E is the charge, electronic charge. Okay, so Hall coefficient, that is minus 1 upon Ne, is this RH. Okay, so if you will put the value of Ne from this formula Ey, so your RH will be Ey upon Jx Bz. Okay, and Hall coefficient is negative for electron and it will be positive if the charge carriers are whole, and Hall voltage will be Vh minus Jx Vz upon Net, where T is the thickness of slab. Okay, so you have to remember these three formulas, which are very important. One more important formula, that is the effective mass. Okay, effective mass is represented by m star, and it's basically h cut square upon d2e over dk square. So this is very easy formula and important. So okay, so now we will discuss about some important formulas of semiconductors. So you know these formulas are very common in your electronics, but as this is in the syllabus of your solid, so we are also discussing these formulas. So these are the very important and very basic formula. So the electrical conductivity of your intrinsic semiconductor is due to both charge carriers, electrons and protons. So sigma is E and mu n plus P mu P, where mu n and mu P are the mobility of your electron and proton. And intrinsic carrier concentration Ni, this is this 2 pi kt upon h square to the power 3 by 2 mn star mp star to the power 3 by 4 e to the power minus eg upon 2 kt. So basically this formula is telling you that the carrier concentration depends on the exponential value of this Eg on T to the power 3 by 2, and also the 3 by 4 power of these effective masses of your proton and neutron. Okay, so an electron concentration in conduction band, as you know in semiconductor there are conduction and valence band which are separated by the forbidden energy gap. So the electron concentration in conduction band is represented by this, and the whole concentration in valence band is represented by this formula. And you can also calculate the Fermi level, which is the level above which generally at zero temperature there are no particles, there are no electron. So EF is EC plus EV by 2 plus 3 by 4 KT log MP star upon Mn star, or this EC plus EV by 2 plus half KT log NV by NC. So if you know these terms like T, MP star, Mn star, or the values of these conduction and valence band, you can find out the value of your Fermi level. So in last slide we have discussed the parameters about the intrinsic semiconductor. So now we will discuss a few important parameters of extrinsic semiconductor. So this is n-type semiconductor. So in n-type semiconductor, the total number of charge carriers, which are basically electron, so it will be Nd plus, which is donor concentration, plus P. Okay, so if you know the donor concentration and you know the value of this P, that is the whole concentration, so you can calculate the total concentration of your particles, charge carriers. Okay, and the Fermi energy level inside your n-type semiconductor you can calculate by these terms: EC plus ED by 2 plus half KT log ND upon NC, and your charge carriers concentration will be Ni e to the power EF minus EI upon KT. So EI is the intrinsic carrier concentration level, and this EF is the Fermi energy level, and Ni is what? Intrinsic carrier concentration. So if this Ni is given and this EF and EI also given, you can calculate the total charge carriers inside your n-type crystal, n-type semiconductor. And if you have a p-type semiconductor, so your total whole concentration will be Na minus plus N. So Na minus is acceptor concentration, and Fermi energy level F, EF will be Ea plus Ev by 2 plus half KT log Na upon Nv, and total whole concentration in terms of intrinsic carrier concentration will be Ni e to the power minus EF minus Ei upon KT. So now very important topic, which is the last topic in solid state, superconductivity. So you know about the superconductivity. So critical or threshold field, the field at which your superconductivity destroyed, the minimum value of magnetic field that destroy the superconductivity is Hc equals to Hc0 1 minus T upon Tc to the power square. Okay, so this is basically a correction here. So this is basically 0. So Hc equals to Hc0. Okay, so this is the field at T equals to 0. So critical field is also represented in terms of critical current. If you know the critical current, that is IC, so your critical field will be IC upon 2 pi r. Okay, so penetration depth you can also calculate. What is this penetration depth? distance at which the magnetic field inside the superconductor reduces to 1 upon E of its value at the surface. This is the penetration depth, and magnetic field decays exponentially inside the superconductor, and this is a formula. So HEx inside your superconductor at distance x is He0 e to the power minus x upon lambda L. So this is the formula, and this lambda L is what? This is the penetration depth, and this penetration depth varies with t. Okay, so lambda t is lambda 0, 1 minus t upon tc to the power 4, and minus 1 by 2 as a whole power. So this is the formula of lambda t. And this isotope effect is also very important. So this effect is telling you that this critical temperature depends on m to the power minus half. Okay, so this m is the isotopic mass. So theta d is device temperature here, and m is the isotopic mass. So Tc also depend on theta d, that is the device temperature. And what is this Meissner effect? This effect is the exclusion of a magnetic field from a superconductor during its transition on the superconducting state. Means if you have a superconducting material and you are cooling it below its critical temperature, so what is the case? All the magnetic field lines expelled out through this superconducting material, so it is behaving as a diamagnetic material. So this effect is known as Meissner effect. And as we are discussing about the superconductors, so it's mandatory that we will discuss about the types of these superconductors. So there are two types of superconductors, type 1 and type 2. So in type 1 superconductors, these are the superconductors which are lose their superconductivity very easily or abruptly. Means they are strictly following the Meissner effect. Okay, and this suddenly or easily loses its superconductivity at critical magnetic field. Okay, and these are also known as soft superconductors. And if we will discuss about the type 2 superconductors, so these are the superconductors which lose their superconductivity gradually but not abruptly. Okay, when we are placing our superconducting material inside the external magnetic field, gradually they will decrease their superconductivity. Okay, so that's why they are also known as hard superconductor, and uh, they are not strictly following the Meissner effect. Okay, so these are the type 2 superconductors. And the total specific heat of superconducting material will be the sum of these values Cn and we can say uh, electronic contribution and lattice contribution. So if your superconducting material is in normal state, so the specific heat will be Cn will be AT plus BT cube. So this is the electronic contribution, and this BT cube is the lattice contribution. So now the most important topic of superconductivity. I have seen in 5 to 6 years that this Josephson effect is very important, because uh, this is very easy. There are no many formulas in Josephson effect, but alternate year or sometimes each year you are getting questions from this topic. Okay, so what is this AC Josephson effect? Basically this Josephson effect is a phenomena where if you have like two superconducting material and you are separating the superconducting material by a thin insulating material, so the junction formed is known as Josephson junction. And here what happens, if you are applying some external voltage across this junction, you are getting AC current. Okay, that is a AC Josephson current, and the formula will be 2t upon h cut n sine omega j t plus delta phi naught. This is the phase difference, and this omega j is the frequency, that is 2e vt upon h cut. And what is this n? This is the number of Cooper pairs. So this is a formula of AC Josephson current. Okay, and the second type of this effect is DC Josephson effect, which is telling you that if you are not applying any external voltage, still we will have some current there, and this current is DC Josephson current, and the formula will be 2T upon H cut N sine delta phi naught. So see here we have only 2 to 3 formulas. Okay, and still this topic is very important for your net examination. So we have tried to cover almost each and every formula from your solid state physics. Okay, so and these topics are seriously very important. Okay, so just try to remember, try to note down all these formulas. Okay, so in case of any query you can ping us, you can comment in the comment box. Okay, so thanks everyone and good luck for your exam.